this seems like something Elizabeth Warren would try to take on.
Not as long as we have this corporations over people mindset in this country. I don't think it's going anywhere.
God, I'm wearing a damn Kirkland signature shirt right now. This is like the worst day to be wearing this shirt.
Okay, but to be fair, Costco has never raised the price of its hot dog combo at the food court. So if nobody else got us, Costco got us.
Well, yeah, some of their prices have gone up, though. Like these seltzers, they've gone up a couple bucks.
The price of the Kirkland Signature vodka has also gone up about $1.
I thought we were friends, Costco. I thought we were friends. How dare you raise these prices on me? Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
I have big news, you two. You two already know, but you can pretend like you don't. We got a puppy! We got a puppy!
Oh my goodness.
Pat and I had been thinking about adopting a second dog for a while, and last week one came up at the same shelter that I adopted Brooklyn 9 years ago. And we were like, YOLO, let's do it. We both really liked the dog, so we took a quick overnight trip out to California to see him and get him. And I don't have him here. I am currently being a single parent because Pat had a planned work trip as well this week. So now I have a sense of what it's like, I think, to be a single parent because I have no free time all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'm sure it's exactly the same.
Well, I'm sure it's a lot harder to have a child, but the puppy constantly demands attention. I just can never get a moment. On the flip side, my days are flying by all of a sudden. His name is Finn. He's about 3 months old. We named him Finn. We renamed him. His name was Punk, and we wanted something a little less, well, punky.
Why?
Finnick or well, we're not into punk rock like you are, Laura.
Missed opportunity.
Yes, so Finnick and Finn for short, and I am keeping my eye on him via a ring cam right now, and he is not here because I need some peace for the next 2 hours. If I do mysteriously disappear, it's because I see that he's currently covered in shit, so I've run away to go and bathe him for what will be the 5th time that he has stepped in his own poop.
Was his name meant to be a nod to Pat's last name, or is that just like completely coincidental?
Whoa. Did you ask Pat? Because you saw him the other day.
No, I didn't. I'm kind of mad at myself that I didn't ask him because I know that it's like, well, the way he explained it to me is that it's both of your dogs, but it's really like his. Adoption.
It is, yeah.
So.
I didn't even realize that Finn Cutter. That did not register with me. I don't think that registered with him either.
Him this.
I don't think so. I think we were kind of thinking like Finnick from the Hunger Games, and we thought Finn was just cute.
I almost asked you during the Bay Hangout last night if Finn was taking your last name or Pat's, because this thought had occurred to me too. But I was like, maybe I won't put him on the spot if he hasn't had a chance to think about it.
It's technically Pat's pet.
Right.
He paid for Finn, at least his adoption fee. So it's his. It's his responsibility, though I am very much the parent this week.
Finn Cutter.
Finn
That's
Cutter.
Kind of cute. It rolls off the tongue.
I was sitting next to Pat when he was FaceTiming his parents, the dog, and not even his parents were like, "Oh, Finn Cutter."
Wow.
Pam's a genius.
I can't believe nobody's asked you that.
I know.
I'm going to text Pat and ask him. Maybe he had ulterior motives.
I should have named Brooklyn so his name would have been The Sims.
Can you imagine being out in public talking to Brooklyn, being like, come on,
People would think you were such a pretentious fuck. I know somebody that like in Pat, like not very well, but I know somebody that named their dog DOG.
Oh God.
What? DOG?
Yeah. And I feel, DOG. Like
but they call him DOG?
Phonetically. Yes.
I'm speechless.
I know. But I feel like if you would have named Brooklyn that gives me the same sort of feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something like Kanye would do when they're naming their dog or something.
Exactly.
Some ridiculous celebrity. In all seriousness, if any listeners have any advice on potty training, I'm listening because this is the one struggle I've been having. I watched a masterclass on it. Some tips are definitely very helpful so far. But if anybody's got any good tips that you don't see people talk about, like on YouTube or in a masterclass, I'm very much listening. Thank you so much. Well, speaking of dogs.
Yeah, the kind of dog that we don't like. This relates to former President Trump. Some of y'all might have seen that today, the day that we're recording this episode, E. Jean Carroll was awarded $5 million in a civil suit against the former president. The jury found Trump liable for battery and defamation. So no surprises there, but it's good to see justice. And we can only hope that this is the continuation of more justice to come.
Yeah, I saw a tweet earlier today that I thought summed it up really, really nicely. It said, a jury has found that the presumptive 2024 nominee for the political party that's built a strategy around framing transgender people as a threat to women in bathrooms himself sexually abused a woman in a change room. I think that really says it all.
It really does.
So anyway, this week's episode is going to be pretty money focused. We kind of just aligned a few topics that all tie together pretty nicely. I've had something on my mind, and Pam's got a lighter money related topic to wrap things up today. But we're going to start, Laura, with recent inflation news, right?
Right. And here I come with the not fun news story, but we're going to try and get...
Here I come. Boom, boom, big scary monster.
We're going to try and get through this relatively quickly, but also it's important that everybody understands what all is going on, especially if you're in the United States, because you've probably heard a lot of conversation happening on cable news if you watch that, or if you pay attention to any economists, and it may not make a whole lot of sense. So we're going to try to make sense of it here in the next few minutes. So it was recently reported that wage growth in the month of April 2023, while it's good news for American workers, it actually turned out to be bad news for the Federal Reserve, as spikes in pay gains apparently make it harder to wrangle inflation under control. To give a little bit more perspective there, average hourly earnings climbed by 4.4% in the year through the month of April, which exceeded the 4.2% that economists had expected. Wage increases in April 2023 were also the fastest since March of 2022. So it's been quite some time since we had this amount of wage growth. And while federal officials regularly acknowledge that wage gains did not initially cause rapid price increases, they do worry that it will prove difficult to return inflation to normal with pay gains rising so rapidly. And this is the first thing I wanted to chat about with y'all. I don't know if you've seen this in any news reporting or even any newspaper reporting. The New York Times even had an article about this. This idea that American workers need to accept a slowing in the growth of wage gains as a way to battle inflation, as though wage gains are the only thing causing inflation.
Yeah, that kind of feels like a really advantageous excuse.
Right.
Honestly. And I hate it very much. Because I think that even like when the economy has done well, the argument has always been to push that voting in a higher minimum wage, for example, is only going to make prices of goods and also even like rent, for example, skyrocket. So it almost kind of feels like they've been slowly spoon feeding us this idea, but now it holds more weight because everybody is well aware of the fact that inflation is on the rise. And also we're kind of entering into this really scary timeline where the United States might default on its debt. So it's an easy scapegoat, honestly, for the government specifically, too.
Yeah. I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal. They wrote an op-ed, why is inflation so sticky? It could be corporate profits. Yeah.
Duh.
And it's kind of shocking that the Rupert Murdoch-owned Wall Street Journal is writing this. When a company like, let's say, Costco or Target or Walmart or any other company is reporting their earnings, they need to show more and more growth. And the only way they're going to continue to do that is if they keep their prices high and keep trying to push consumers. And I don't think that these companies have hit the resistance yet that they've been expecting. They keep raising their prices and we all keep buying. We, as a collective society, need to put our foot down and say no. But evidently, everybody's still buying and saying yes to these prices. They're going to hit resistance eventually. They just haven't yet, it seems.
Mm-hmm. It's just hard because a lot of it is like the cost of goods that we use regularly. Like a good example is eggs, right? Eggs make up the daily meal for a lot of people. A lot of people eat eggs in the morning. It's a really easy source of protein. Used to be way more accessible cost-wise. And now the cost of eggs has skyrocketed due in part to the avian flu. We kind of heard that that was going to potentially cause a decrease in the supply of eggs. But I saw an article maybe about like a month ago saying that egg suppliers saw an increase in income growth of like 200%. It's like, of course you did, because you upped the price of eggs, presumably because you didn't have enough to sell us. But you should also not be seeing that much of a profit increase if,
It's so
you
fucked
know,
up.
the point of increasing the prices because you didn't have enough supply. So
Right.
the math isn't mathing, right? And I know that when we had a guest on last year talking about inflation, we talked a lot about shrinkflation as well. So like the cost of something staying the same or sometimes even being marked up, but then the amount that you get is way lower. I hate that. I've seen that a lot recently at Trader Joe's as well. And it really kind of,
I remember you
grinds
mentioned
my
this.
gears.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep an eye on this. Even when you go out to eat a lot of times, right? You start seeing your meal portions actually getting smaller. It's like, well, fuck this. This is America. You don't take away my food.
It's funny you say that.
The land of large portions.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, we went out to eat with friends at a restaurant we've been to several times, a restaurant whose Caesar salads I just love. They're big, they're fresh, and they give you like a protein with them. So I got my usual Caesar salad, and it came out in a much smaller bowl. And the lettuce was much more anemic looking. It wasn't green and crisp like I'm used to. And I looked at it and I was like, what the hell is this? And I made a joke. I was like, oh man, inflation's just rough, isn't it? But then as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I was like, well, that's actually what's happening right now.
They started buying shittier lettuce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They probably got it from like a Fisher Price playset from the 90s. It probably wasn't even real.
And to be fair, I do forgive, I can forgive a lot of it's a small business or a mom and pop. Like
Yeah.
I have no problem, for example, if I go to a local coffee shop paying 75 cents up to maybe like $1 for a milk alternative, which I know is expensive for some
Yes.
people, but that's something that I'm just expecting as someone that frequents establishments like that. But when Starbucks raises its prices, it's like, I know y'all aren't losing money and I know you're not paying your employees well enough. So why is your cold brew over $1 more than it was last year?
Not to mention, they raised the number of stars required to get free drinks and food. And a lot of people were pissed off about that. So, yeah, it's happening in different types of ways. They're taking shortcuts and hoping people don't notice, I guess. But again, like we as consumers are just going to have to start resisting. Otherwise, they're going to keep raising prices. They're addicted to it. You mentioned the eggs and the profits those egg companies have been making. They got a hit of that cocaine and they're not going to let go of that. So egg prices have came down, but they're going to want to keep prices higher than they were.
And I'm so glad that you brought up Starbucks, Pam, because as I'm thinking about this real tension that we're feeling as we talk about what's driving inflation, and I'm not going to sit here and say that it's simple. I'm not an economist. Nobody on this panel is an economist. It's not as simple as saying it's corporate profits, and that's 100% of the issue. It's more complicated than that. But to point the finger at wage growth and at the unemployment rate dropping, that's another thing that comes up, is that you would expect, in order to combat inflation, you'd see higher rates of unemployment start to creep up. We always are ready to point the finger at the workers and tell American workers, hey, you guys need to be the one to absorb this burden that is inflation. And we're not pointing fingers at the corporations. Starbucks has made headlines over the last few years over its union busting activities. So we're looking at a real-time example of workers' rights continuing to be eroded and attacked. And then industries in this country wanting to tell American workers that they're the problem and they're the ones who have to absorb the burden of inflation. It's ridiculous. I wanted to ask, should there, and again, knowing it's a complicated question really, but should there be penalties for corporations that contribute to high flights of inflation?
I mean, I would love that, but I just don't ever see that actually happening. That said, Biden has been cracking down in very consumer-friendly ways, at least attempting to, with, let's say, he's been trying to crack down on hidden fees or these extra fees that airlines and hotels try to tack on, for example. So I don't know. I guess, this seems like something Elizabeth Warren would try to take on.
It does.
Realistically, is it going to happen? I don't think so.
No, not as long as we have this corporations over people mindset in this country. I don't think it's going anywhere.
God, I'm wearing a damn Kirkland signature shirt right now. This is like the worst day to be wearing this shirt.
Okay, but to be fair, Costco has never raised the price of its hot dog combo at the food court. So if nobody else got us, Costco got us.
Well, yeah, some of their prices have gone up, though, like these seltzers. They've gone up a couple bucks.
The price of the Kirkland Signature vodka has also gone up about $1.
The gin's also gone up $1, and I shed a tear. I thought we were friends, Costco. I thought we were friends. How dare you raise these prices on me? I'm burning the shirt after the show. Just kidding. Chloe bought it for me.
You're going to go out to your backyard and burn it just like you did the Donald Trump photo.
Yeah.
Just use it to line Finn's puppy.
Oh, there you go.
The way I'm going through fucking towels. Yeah, sure. You guys want a photo of that after he does?
Yeah, that'd be
great.
I
can get him to poop on it. Great. Patreon's going to ban us for posting poop on their platform.
If they didn't ban you for burning the Trump Funko, I highly doubt they're going to ban you for letting Finn poop on your Kirkland Signature.
I hope they watched that in their offices and were like, somebody, whoever watched it was clearly a Hillary fan.
Yeah, they were like, the liberal agenda is strong with these guys. We're just going to turn a blind eye. It's fine.
Oh, man.
Well, Pam, I'm really glad that you brought up the debt ceiling a few moments ago, because I wanted to chat about that quickly, too. I don't feel like we've had a lot of time on the show to chat about this recently, but it is something that workers should be thinking about. All Americans should be thinking about, in addition to inflation, because the White House and House Republicans are currently at an impasse about what to do over the national debt limit. And kind of a TLDR primer here is that failure to raise the federal debt limit prior to June 1st, when it's expected to expire, would result in a default on our national debt. It would throw our economy into a tailspin and would cause major job losses. Millions and millions of jobs very quickly would be lost. How worried should we be about this, given the fact that the U.S. has never actually defaulted on its debt before? We've had scares.
I've heard experts talking about this, and I hear it being described as catastrophic because America has, like you said, basically always paid its debts. You can trust America to pay what they owe. I know Biden just spoke to the nation today, actually, Tuesday. I think they're really trying to make sure Americans know that the Biden administration is really working hard to work with Republicans, work with the GOP so they don't default. And I think they're, as they should be, trying to point the finger at Republicans and try to blame them I really hope Kevin McCarthy actually genuinely tries to work with Biden. Of course, he's going to be stubborn right now to try to get what he wants. But when we hit that deadline, I really hope they come up with a solution.
I'm pretty optimistic that they will. It's like Laura was saying, not uncommon for them to come to an agreement in the 11th hour, so to speak. So I'm not like super worried about it. I don't know if that's naive, but just kind of feels like if they've figured it out, looking at when this has happened in terms of like a historical in terms of a historical context, then I just don't see why they wouldn't this time around. So,
well, what do you think, Laura? Is Pam being naive or?
No, I don't think you're being naive, Pam, because the US has been on the brink of this before in 2011, 2013, and even recently in 2021. It's happened and we've managed to find a way. The only thing that really concerns me right now is the current makeup of the Republican caucus in the House, and really the weakness of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. We know that if he pisses off their ultra right wing flank and they get the votes, they can vote for a new speaker. That was one of the conditions for him getting the gavel on the 15th or 16th vote or whatever it was earlier this year. And I mean, I was just checking for an update because McCarthy and Biden were supposed to have met today on the day we're recording. McCarthy came out of that meeting, and it looks like an hour ago, it was reported that McCarthy said no progress was made. Republicans aren't agreeing to lift the debt ceiling limit unless there are some sweeping funding cuts implemented. Think about all of the things that federal spending goes to. One of the things that I was reading about is they want to attach certain qualifications to receiving things like unemployment and other kinds of social safety benefits. They also want to include expansions for mining and fossil fuel production to a debt ceiling increase. The White House is pushing back on that and calling for a clean debt ceiling bill with no strings attached, and wanting Republicans to approach these other concerns via separate legislation. And I guess I just worry that if McCarthy can't get his caucus to coalesce, which he hasn't been doing a very good job of, understandably, his caucus is batshit insane, it might be hard to come to any kind of a consensus, and he might be at risk for being voted out as speaker. That's like the nuance that kind of has me worried.
Yeah,
about meeting this deadline.
I've been kind of worried because I too realize that some Republicans are fucking nuts, and they're willing to go there. They're willing to hit that catastrophic event, I think, to try and make their point. Because as we've brought up before on this show, they can never give Biden a win. They don't want to reward Biden with a win ever.
Especially going into 2024.
Yeah.
But then I don't know, like, who, I not that I want it, but it would just be really interesting to see who America would side with in that event, because you're right. I could see both sides using that as a bargaining chip for why you should vote one way or the other.
I mean, looking at who won the presidency, it seems like most people would be in favor of Biden's side. So
yeah, the thing is too is I just don't think that like the majority of Americans really understand like what would actually happen if the United States were to default on its loans. Like, this is a very, like, in a way, it's a little bit more of a highbrow issue because economics is not a really easy subject to digest if you don't understand it. I don't even really understand a lot of it, honestly. And I know that, like, I was going to say that all of us on this panel are not experts by any means, but we're probably a little bit more in tune with what's going on in terms of current events. And even we wouldn't sit here and tell you all that we understand exactly, what all would happen on the back end. So
Yeah.
But here's another easy to understand point. If we default on our debt, we're telling the world, you can't trust America. That's a huge problem for us on the world stage.
It is, but I will say that not that we should, and not that this is a reason that we should, but America has been on the decline in terms of, our reputation on the world stage. And I would say
what's a little more decline?
I would also say, debt aside, America is not the superpower it was even 20, 30 years ago on the world stage. And we're basically grasping and like to try and stay up at the top. But the reality of that is that there are a lot of developing nations that have been on our tails for decades now that are doing so much better than we are in terms of like foreign relations and also global political economy. So at some point, we're just going to have to like let that go and, come to terms with the fact that America isn't the best.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we've got some commentary in our Discord. Justin said this would be a big win for China. I was just thinking about that. I'm envisioning, the meme of Jim from The Office staring through the blinds, smiling. I'm like, this is China watching the U.S. about to default on its debt.
100% China would love it if the global currency wasn't the US dollar.
And then Sam said, no offense, Americans, but no one trusts you anyways. That's what
Sam.
I'm saying.
You know what, Sam? We don't trust you and wherever you live.
Well,
too serious? Okay.
It's baked into our DNA not to trust anyone in this country.
We're all inherently xenophobic. So
yeah.
America, fuck yeah.
Well, obviously this is an extremely complex topic, and it's not one that we're going to be able to completely parse through in just a few minutes discussion here on the show. And there's a lot of this that we don't have control over. In fact, we don't have control over any of it. So I thought we could talk just for a brief moment about what Americans can do to prepare for the potential of the U.S. defaulting on its debt. Hopefully we don't. NerdWallet, we'll link this in the show notes, actually has some recommendations. One of their top ones actually relates to your 401k. So if you have a 401k with your employer, they were pointing out that a very significant margin of people, like 30 to 40%, when they're laid off from a job in a panic, will withdraw all the funds from their 401k. Then they get hit with penalty taxes for taking those funds out before they turn 59 and a half. It's much better for your financials in the long run to be sure that you're rolling your 401k over into another 401k provider if you find a new job, or into a Roth IRA. So that would be a very smart move. Something else that they recommended was using your tax refund to your advantage. So tax season has just passed us. If you received a tax refund this year, you might want to consider investing it in a high yield savings account, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes on the show, or even just keeping it in savings as backup just in case you need it.
I'm literally going to do that, but we'll discuss that more in a moment.
Yeah. And also a reminder, this isn't financial advice. This is just, these are things you could do. Definitely do your own research if you're able to speak to, a professional financial advisor. If you're not, the internet is your oyster, and there's just a ton of good advice and research out there for you to leverage in terms of planning out your financial future. And again, I would just say, remember that we have been on the brink of this before. It is scary. It's okay to be a little bit nervous about it. But ultimately, in the past, political leaders were able to pull their heads out of their asses and reach a compromise to prevent us from defaulting. So we have fingers crossed here on the show that that's what's going to happen.
America, fuck yeah. So lick my butt and suck on my balls, America. Fuck yeah, what you gonna do when we come for you now? Oh, I miss the days when we could sing that song with pride. I forgot that lyric, so lick my butt is sung on my balls. What an incredible song and movie. Team America World Police, for anybody who doesn't know. Well, we need to pay our debts because Millennial never defaults, so we'll be right back after these messages. All right, so we've teased it a couple of times. We wanted to talk about high yield savings accounts today. They've been on my mind recently, thanks largely to this brand new Apple savings account that was recently announced. Yes, Apple is turning into a bit of a bank. They've had a credit card for a few years, and now they're getting into those pay later programs, which we've warned you got to be really careful with because they're too easy to use. And the news of the savings account got me thinking and reminded me once more, I don't currently have a traditional savings account. People talk about these all the time. I invest in the stock market. I have money in individual stocks, and I also have money in funds, which are groups of stocks. I use Robinhood and the Stash app. Robinhood for the individual stocks, Stash for the group, the funds, or the groups of stocks. But again, this Apple one, I look at it, and it's got a 4.15% interest rate, which is really, really good. And then I look at the performance of my individual stocks over the last year. It's a bloodbath. It's tragic. And I'm like, I really need to switch over to this, I think. Start doing this, or at least diversify a little more. I could have been on the up and up consistently with an Apple one or something similar. Laura, Pam, do you two have high yield savings accounts?
Yes.
I don't have high yield savings accounts, but I do have savings accounts.
Okay. And Laura, I know you've been really high on this idea. You get a financial boner over high yield savings accounts. How long have you had one, and what's been your interest rate? Give me your digits.
So I actually started my high yield savings account at the start of the pandemic back in March of 2020. And I literally just put $100 in it to start it off. And since then, I've just been adding every time I have extra funds. I just throw them in there. And at the time that I started it, I think the interest rate was 2%. So still a lot better than what you get from your regular, bank savings accounts that you would get, through Bank of America or something like that. But now, actually today, mine jumped up to that 4.15 percent yield. It had been stalled out at 3.9%. But it's really interesting to watch these accounts, especially if you have them over time for a few years, because your interest starts compounding on itself. And that's where you really start seeing your money starting to work for you in what feels to me like more of a guarantee and less of a risk. I'm very nervous about investing in the stock market. You guys know that I bought some Dogecoin on Robinhood. I still have it, by the way.
Wait, I was going to say, was that an anomaly for you?
I was bought in by the meme. It became a big thing on Twitter.
Couldn't resist the meme.
I couldn't resist it. It was cheap. It was cheap when I bought into it. It was like 2 cents a share. So I was like, oh, whatever. And I bought like 100 shares or something. And stupidly, very stupidly, I didn't sell when it got up to 70 cents a share. That was really when I would have had the most
would have been
return
rolling
on investment.
In it.
I would have made like $1,000. Like
that's a lot for a fucking meme stock.
It is a lot. It is a lot, but it's not like Bitcoin. It's not like I would have suddenly become independently wealthy and been able to quit my day job. You know what I mean? So the stock market kind of scares me, and a high yield savings account is a little more straightforward. And I think it's a good option, especially if you're just getting started on building a financial portfolio, because it's a savings account. It's insured just like, any other bank is insured for up to, I think, $250,000 in an account. You have a set interest rate. And while that interest rate can vary over time, they notify you when it's going up or down. So you'll have an idea of what to expect. And you're not going to lose money because the interest rate went down. You just won't make as much. So the reason I really like it is because it's a good option for people who are just getting started, which is me, honestly. I mean, that's why I opened mine, because I didn't really know what else to do to diversify my portfolio. And I definitely follow some financial gurus on the socials. Kara Perez is a great example. We had her on the show last year, and she's been a proponent of high yield savings accounts. But I also follow her first 100K on TikTok. She recently came out with a book called The Financial Feminist. And a lot of her mission as an influencer is to really help women learn how to build their wealth. And she often speaks about opening a high yield savings account as being the first step that you take to start building your wealth, because your money is literally working for you. It's like set it and forget it. You put money in there, you leave it alone, and it'll grow, sort of at the rate that the interest is set to at the time. So anyway, that's like the very long explanation of why I like high yield savings accounts.
Yeah, it's a sure thing, right? Like a savings account is a sure thing. And I'm honestly not surprised that your bank, wherever you have this, has matched the average interest rate or has gone up to 4%, because I think any bank out there right now that can match a high or a decently high interest rate is going to do it, because they know, especially with all of these banks closing as a result of some shitty decisions, that there are a lot of people out there that are looking and shopping around to figure out where they want to put their money next. So if they can be competitive with interest rates, which a lot of them aren't, it's going to be a huge pro for anybody that's looking to invest.
And they all very much could have high interest rates, but they choose not to because capitalism.
Right.
I think the Apple savings account is fascinating because I think it's putting pressure on the banks to raise their interest rates on the high yield savings accounts, because it's so easy to set up. You just need an Apple Card, and then from there you can hit a button to set up a savings account. And the big feature of the Apple Card is you get daily cash back. So it's around 1% to 2%. For Apple purchases, you get 3% back. But what they'll do is automatically deposit your daily cash earnings into the savings account. By default, that is on. You can turn that off if you want. And you can take in any other cash and put it into your Apple savings account. And getting back to what I was saying a couple minutes ago about why I'm interested in this is because it's also been a very high profile story. We've been seeing headlines everywhere about this. The media normally doesn't talk about saving account, high yield saving account interest rates. Like, a lot of people are paying attention to this. And I think that is scaring banks because it is so easy to set up. There's no annual fee. There's no minimum limits. It's very easy to get started.
High yield savings accounts are also literally the only good thing about inflation. The reason that these high yield rates keep jumping up the way they do is because the Fed keeps increasing interest rates. So yeah, that fucks us over on credit cards and personal loans and mortgages and car loans and what have you. But if you have a high yield savings account, it can be a good thing. So take advantage of this moment, everybody.
Yeah.
Find the one thing that makes inflation suck, like just a little bit less.
Forbes had a couple of sources who said nearly $1 billion were deposited into Apple savings accounts within 4 days after launch. So there's clearly a lot of interest in this. And I know Tim Cook on an earnings call last week said the response to the Apple savings account has been incredible. And it's all because of this very great interest rate. So I'll be putting money in there. Laura, you linked a calculator in here as well. I found another calculator. It's actually a government website where you can figure out earnings over time. The other thing to keep in mind is you might not have the money to do this, but when you open a savings account, you should deposit money into it regularly to help build wealth over time. It's not really just the deposit once and forget it. You'll still make money that way, of course, but the best way will be to continue to put money into it so it compounds over time. And then with the calculator I found, you can put in what your monthly deposits would be, how often it compounds, and then it gives you what you'll have in X number of years. And the numbers are pretty tantalizing.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I started my account out with $100. That was the first deposit I made to it. And over the course of the last couple of years, I've just been making monthly deposits of kind of like whatever I have left over after bills, and regular expenses,
the Dogecoin investments, yeah,
and, the fun money. You got to hold on to some fun money. I hate.
Yeah, what's the point of life otherwise?
Yeah, you hear financial advisors, like I think you hear the Dave Ramseys of the world, giving people this awful advice that if you're in a pickle financially, you shouldn't be spending any funds on anything sort of like extracurricular. And I feel like that's a one-way ticket to failure because you're just going to burn yourself out. So I don't subscribe to this idea that you shouldn't have any fun money. I think everybody should have at least a modest fun money budget, even if it's like $20 a week or something like that. I've done that before.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, like whatever, my habit has just been whatever's left over at the end of the month after I've handled everything I need to handle, I put into that account, and the savings do compound on themselves over time. It's not like you start from zero at the start of a new month. It's always going to stack on top of what you already have.
I will also say another nice thing about savings account is you can transfer the money. You don't have to keep it there forever. CDs, a certificate of deposit, used to be really popular in the 90s, but you had to usually agree to keep your money in the CD without taking a withdrawal. Whereas with the savings account, you can pull money out at any time. So that's a really nice benefit. Compared to, the interest rates at the traditional banks are a joke. They are insulting. I was looking at Chase, 0.02% APY. Go fuck yourself. Compared to 4.15, get out of here with that. U.S. Bank, Bank of America, offer, Chase too, depending on the account that you can get, offer between 0.01 and 0.02%. So really nothing. By the way, I did see Apple Wallet currently has a promo. Apple Card currently has a promo. If you go to apple.co/refer-daily-cash, you can apply to get a Apple Card and you'll get $75 in daily cash, one-time daily cash, after you make your first purchase within 30 days. So you got to do that before June 6th. So there's a month left, but that's an easy way. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You got $75 in fun money or for your savings account.
Right. That's definitely going to go into the savings account. The reason I have this is because and this is the thing that fucking pisses me off. So the high yield savings account I've been using is one that's backed by Goldman Sachs, which is also the bank that backs the Apple savings account. But mine was sitting at 3.9% interest. And I've been watching because I've been watching all these other banks increase theirs to, north of 4%. And today, ahead of this discussion, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me check the account. It was still at 3.9%. I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get the Apple Card so that I can get that savings account. So I went out, I got the Apple Card, set up the savings account, and right as I was going in to transfer my funds from my other Goldman Sachs account, it was like, congratulations, your interest rate has been increased to 4.15%. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Don't leave us. Don't leave us. See, they're scared. They're
like
scared.
they
They know what people are doing. Yeah,
Well,
they know people are moving to other.
But it's
right.
the same bank. That's what doesn't make any sense.
A couple other really good savings accounts, just so I don't sound like one big Apple ad. According to bank rates, PNC has one with 4.3% yield. Citizens has 4.5%. SoFi has 4.2%, and Affinity has 4%. So there's other options out there. And by the way, the Apple one is not. You don't need an Apple device to get an Apple card. Apple wouldn't turn down your money.
Yeah, they'll send you a physical card in the mail.
Yeah, I
as
have
well.
one. You could kill somebody with it. It's a heavy piece of
the titanium card.
Oh yeah, it's freaking titanium.
Fucking Apple. I swear to God.
I did get a bit of a refund this tax season, so I'm going to be taking some of that money and putting it into this high yield savings account. And I'm also going to move one of my individual stock investments over into the savings account and start building wealth that way and not have to worry about, oh, is it up or down today? It's just going to be up, up, and up. Yeah. And you know what? You also mentioned they can change the interest rate, but that's fine. You can just go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Screw them.
That's the thing. You can shop around. And I'm glad to hear that you're still going to keep your portfolio diverse, because the thing is, 4% interest on all of your savings accounts sounds great, but that doesn't necessarily beat your stocks all of a sudden shooting through the roof. I mean, that's where people get rich enough to be able to, be independently wealthy and retire early and things like that. So I would definitely say, since you're already in the stock market, I wouldn't leave it. And I'm afraid of the stock market, so I still need to think about this. But I've heard a lot of chatter recently, mostly through social channels, about how
what hot new coin have you discovered?
No, there's no coin, but just about the idea that as there's all of this economic uncertainty, the stock market is starting to trend down. And if you are so inclined, if you have the resources to do so, now might be a good time to buy into some stocks that, represent companies or products that you believe in, because the stock market will bounce back eventually, and you may reap some benefits from that. So
you're right. I mean, like I mentioned at the top of this, my individual stock investments have mostly gone down over the last year or so. And yeah, if you can buy in now, you will, to your point, be profiting from that within hopefully a few years. The average stock market return, by the way, according to NerdWallet, is about 10% per year, which of course is higher than 4.15% from a high yield savings account. So that is important to keep in mind. When I look at Robinhood the last year, though, it's a much different story.
Yeah.
A much more tragic story.
Yeah. My Dogecoin is down, man.
Oh, man. Current Dogecoin price, I'm sure people are curious, 0.073 cents. So not the worst, not the best either.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, good luck, everybody. But I'm excited about my new high yield savings account, and definitely encourage other people to do that as well.
Andrew, just because I know you and I do this with my high yield savings account every month, I get so excited at the end of each month to see the report on how much my account made me that month.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see you being this way as well, like keeping track and monitoring. And be like, oh my God, I made X amount this month.
I love when Stash or Robinhood emails me about dividends I've gotten from stocks. Oh, that makes me wet. Like, look, this free money just appeared.
That's the thing.
And you reinvest those dividends.
Yep. If you can, let your money work for you.
Amen.
For
Amen
sure.
To that. I did sign up for the Apple savings accounts in late April. And then like May 1st, I got my first push notification from Apple telling me about my interest. And it was like 8 cents. I was like, hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! It was very small at that. I don't know what I put in there. Somebody can math that for me, but maybe it was $50, I think, to start. So I've already experienced that, Laura, with my 8 cents, which is more than a share of Dogecoin currently.
It is. Hey, ride that high every month. I know you will. I'm going to take that.
I'm going to take that 8 cents and put it into Dogecoin. I'm going to buy a share.
There you go.
I'll show you, Tim Cook.
I'm anticipating getting a monthly text message now, which is like
I'll just send you screenshots.
Just a screenshot and an eggplant emoji.
The water drop emoji, the drool emoji.
Well, speaking of money, I wanted to talk a little bit about spending money. And this was inspired by a tweet that I saw a couple of weeks ago. This was from Karen Cahoe, who said, the mantra, quote, spend money on experiences, not things, is good in theory. Here are things you should spend money on. And then they went on to list a bunch of things that they felt like were good investments as far as spending money on things that would improve their quality of life. So this ranged in diversity from tangible goods like good shoes and orthotics and sunscreen, compost bins, to even services like therapy or shelling out for movers and dental care. So inspired by this tweet, I wanted to talk about some of the things that we've spent money on that have genuinely improved our quality of life overall. So alternatively, if you don't have any of your own suggestions, there were a lot of suggestions under this tweet that I know we've all kind of pulled through. So what are some of the things that you all have like genuinely felt like were good money spends?
One of the things that I feel like was an added benefit to my life, it was actually something I got as a gift, but you can get it on Amazon for anywhere from $100 to $200, a foot massager. I got this for Christmas last year from Mark's family, and it is my favorite freaking thing. You can sit on the couch, slip your feet into it, and it's got like massage, heat, vibration, compression settings, and like various levels that you can put them all on. I use this thing every day. Like every night when I'm done with work, I sit on the couch and get a foot massage, and it has brought me so much joy, especially when I'm stoned. Being stoned and getting a foot massage is so like lush. Primo. It's so good.
Oh, man. That's funny. I didn't know that about you. Every night you're doing that. That's a fun fact about Laura we learned today.
Yeah, it's what I'm going to be doing after the show tonight.
Yeah,
it's good to know that like when we text you after hours, you might be getting a foot massage.
That's why her do not disturb notification is on.
Yeah, getting a foot massage. No, I can guarantee that when you text me after hours, that's almost assuredly what I'm doing.
That's great. That's great. I've also had, we currently have, don't use it too often, but like a spot massager. How do you just you just hold it and you
massage gun.
Yeah, just use it around your neck. It's one of the off-brand ones. It's not like one of the cool ones you see like Peloton instructors plug on their Instagram, but those are really nice, like around the neck.
Yeah, we have one of those too. You can get them for like $30 on Amazon.
Yeah. Or like ones that can like sit at the bottom of your back, like on a chair for like where the lumbar support normally is. Yeah, those are pretty legit.
I should get one of those too, so that I can be doing my back and my feet, and I can have the gun doing my neck.
Just living your best life.
Living my best life without actually paying for a full body massage, because that's really expensive. Also worth it if you can afford it. It's worth it to do.
Yeah. I did that once, and it was very much worth it. But on a related note, and speaking of doing things on the cheap, so I've mentioned I have a Planet Fitness membership, and for the Black Card Spa, they call it, it's an extra $10, so you're paying like $20 a month for your Planet Fitness membership. But they have massage machines. They have hydro massage machines, so you lay flat and it's like shooting water at your back. That feels really good. But they also have traditional massage chairs, and I never used them until like 3 months ago. I decided to try one, and oh my God, those feel amazing. I had like forgotten or never knew how good a traditional massage chair feels. They can really get in you. So if you want to get massages for cheap and like a full body massage, consider Planet Fitness.
That's nice too, because the $20 membership, you can bring someone with you for free, basically. So especially if you live in a 2-person household and you know that you're going to go work out together, it's kind of like a no-brainer, right? Because it's 2 for 1.
And you can bring a guest every day if you want. There's no limit. and that membership lets you go to any Planet Fitness in the country, which
That's
is
also
really
a really
nice.
nice perk.
Yeah. And they have tanning booths if you want that.
Do you use the tanning booths?
I do not. Those
They
scare
don't
me.
have those at my Planet Fitness, but
really?
it's good to know that they exist in other Planet Fitness.
Well, if you're looking for a tan, you can come to Vegas for A, the sun, and B, the tanning massages.
Sounds like a Vegas perk to me.
Definitely does. Speaking of gym memberships, something that I've had for the past several months is a membership with Future. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
So it is an at-home personal trainer membership that you can get, where you're essentially assigned a personal trainer. I meet with mine once every 2 weeks to talk about how things are going and how we want to adjust things. But she also customizes workouts for me 5 times a week. You can do more or less. You can have as many workouts made per month as you want. And it integrates with your Apple Watch. So you can wear your Apple Watch while you work out, and they can pinpoint where your heart rate was at various points during the workout to know if something was really challenging you or if something was too easy for you and it's time to kind of like up the ante, whether it's more weight or more reps. I have found this to be a really beneficial addition to my life. I need accountability. I need to know that somebody's watching to see if I'm doing my workouts. And my coach is really nice about it. Like if she sees that I haven't done my workout at my usual time, I'll get like a little nudge from her to be like, hey, are you okay? But it's also just nice to have that accountability. And I feel so much better that I'm working out consistently. It's just really, really been a great benefit for me. It is on the pricier side. It's $150 a month, but I will say it's way cheaper than hiring a personal trainer in the traditional sense.
Oh, yeah.
I had looked into hiring a personal trainer like at the gym, and it was going to cost like $1,000 a month. And that's just not, I just don't have that in my budget. And when I really thought about all the stupid shit that I spend money on in a month, it became a no-brainer pretty quickly to say, I can invest $150 a month into myself and my own wellness. And my mental health, I have to say, is like much better as a result of it.
That's great.
So I highly recommend it if you're looking for a personal trainer type situation, but you don't want to incur the expense of a typical personal trainer and you are too lazy to actually like leave your house and go to the gym like me. This is it's pretty nice.
Yeah, the at-home convenience, not having to meet with somebody face to face. This is really, really cool. And
it is
for
cool.
you, and I'm glad to hear that it's been working out for you.
Yeah,
pun not intended, but also just with your mental health. I mean, this whole economy around like I wouldn't call it the creator economy, but like the at-home, I don't know, bring it home economy. Like I'm thinking like Stitch Fix. You get paired with somebody's working with you one-on-one. Or Apostrophe. I've recommended on the show before. A dermatologist works with you over the app. You just take pictures of your face and they give you something, and it's worked out really great for me. Or Hims and Roman, which you can use to meet with a doctor online and get anxiety medication, boner pills, hair loss medication, stuff like that. I mean, I'm fascinated by this whole side of the internet, and I just want to see more and more like this, where you can pay typically less than you would to go somewhere and get similar, equally excellent treatment. I know people have problems with Stitch Fix. We've definitely heard from listeners there. But there's a whole economy here around. There's this whole like...
It's also nice because like some people just don't live in a city where these services are accessible. And so if you live in a rural area, it's really nice to know that there are options for you.
Yeah. And who wants to go anywhere? It's just like therapy, Talkspace, and BetterHelp. I know there's a lot to be said for face-to-face therapy, but for some people, myself included, the online therapy is just way.
It could also just help, like, if you're a generally anxious person, it's a really easy first step to take.
It's more
right?
approachable.
You could just kind of get your feet wet and get used to it. And then later on, when you feel a little bit more confident, you can go in person.
So kind of on a related note to the foot massager, an ergonomic chair. If you're spending your entire day at the computer, which so many of us are, invest in a good chair that's going to take care of your back and promote good posture. Otherwise, you could potentially be doing damage to your back. Maybe you're not even realizing it. And then you're going to have to go to a chiropractor. And those people, just like therapists, do not let you go. Once you're in the system, good luck getting out. Once they fix your back, it's time to move on to physical therapy. And that's going to go on for months or years. When I did throw out my back, I felt like I was tied into a system, and I only got out of it because I moved out of Chicago. They were not going to let go of me otherwise. So I just think investing in a good ergonomic computer chair is going to pay dividends over time. A lot of people love the Herman Miller Aeron chairs, I believe they're called, Aeron. I had one of those. You can buy them refurbished, actually, and save a little money. That's what I did. I did eventually switch, though. I have this Ergo Chair Pro, and this is by Autonomous, and it's a $500 chair. It's very customizable. It's great build quality, I feel. It's got a headrest too. That was a big thing I was looking out for this time, because otherwise I start like leaning forward as the day goes on. So if I'm just leaning back like I am now, I feel like I'm in a good position long term.
Yeah. And for anyone who's in that work from home life, if you work for a company that has you working from home, it might be worth exploring to see if they'll either cover the cost of a desk chair for you or provide a stipend to get one. I know a lot of companies are doing that now. So don't sleep on that kind of benefit if your employer offers it.
The other thing I wanted to mention are noise canceling headphones. I think about this every time I'm on a plane. I would not fly if I didn't have noise canceling headphones. I don't think people realize what they're missing out on until you actually try them. It's really amazing how well these work. There's the Apple AirPods Max, which are what I have because of just how well they work with Apple devices and switching between, say, your computer and your phone. But there's other very well-known ones. The Bose Quiet Comforts are a very, very popular brand. Sony does a couple of very popular over-ear noise-canceling headphones as well. If you're on a plane and you're wearing these for like an hour and you take them off, you're like, holy shit, all this noise has just been suppressed to the point like I don't hear 95% of it. Especially helpful too if like there's a screaming kid on the plane, or even like a train or walking out and about. It's just such a relief to reduce the noise around you when you're in those very loud environments. I really cannot recommend them enough. And of course, they sound great too. It's not just the noise canceling, but they sound really, really good.
I need to get some of these too. And I feel like also if you're somebody that feels the need to crank up the volume, noise canceling headphones will help you maintain a decent volume so you don't ruin your hearing over time too, because everything else is blocked out. So that's a good recommendation for sure. A couple that I have, I always tell people to invest in like a decent pair of sunglasses if you like wearing sunglasses, because I know it's kind of scary to do that. Sunglasses are things that you tend to misplace the most out of any kind of accessory that you have, because they're a little bit smaller. It's easy to like leave them everywhere. But I feel like having spent a little bit of money on sunglasses, I am always aware of where they are. So that's a nice little loss prevention bonus. And then also like they're just like less prone to scratching if you get some with like wire hardware. It's really easy to have those get adjusted if they fall out of whack for whatever reason. So if you are somebody that likes to wear sunglasses, I would recommend just investing in a good pair instead of continuing to buy cheaper pairs. And then
I'll push back on this and just say I do not trust myself with expensive sunglasses.
So I tend to buy. Saying, like, because you spend the money, you will do better.
I don't trust myself. I
I
can't.
trust you.
Thank you. Well, then buy me a pair and then we'll see what happens.
You know,
No.
a happy middle ground might be using a service like Zenni, because you can get prescription glasses and sunglasses through them. And they're more expensive than the sunglasses you'll get at like Target or the drugstore, but they're not as expensive as like brand name sunglasses. So you could check that out.
Yeah.
I think my brother uses Zenni.
I do too.
They are cheaper for prescription glasses.
They're
like
a
noticeably.
lot cheaper.
Yeah.
So I got 3 pairs of prescription glasses from them. So I got 2 pairs, just, regular glasses for day to day. And I got a pair of prescription sunglasses. And altogether, it was $130 for 3 pairs of prescriptions, of prescription glasses, which, if you go through regular retailers for that kind of thing, you can end up paying $300 just for 1 pair of glasses.
Yeah. And then the other one I had really quickly is I really like my WeatherTech car mats, like the ones that you put at your feet. And these are so nice because they're rubber and they're just so much easier to clean. I was struggling so hard with the like the carpet ones that I had because they get dirty so easily, and then depending on the color they stain. So if you if you haven't invested in some like decent rubber car mats, it's just going to make your life so much easier, and also like maintaining your car is going to be so much easier.
Did you get those from Costco?
I did not, because they were a gift, but I was going to buy them if I didn't get them.
Because I think Costco has the WeatherTech ones.
They do.
Which is where I bought
And sometimes they go on sale. So if you shop around and you wait around Costco, sometimes you can get a good deal on those.
If anything is ever on sale at Costco and you typically buy it, even if you don't currently need it, because the prices tend to be pretty good. But then when things go on sale, the prices are insanely good. Some dog treats that I buy for Brooklyn are currently $6.99. They're normally $11.99, so they're nearly 50% off. I bought 2 bags, even though I didn't need them right now, because that'll last me easily through the end of the year. I had to bring that up because I think about it every time I see something on sale there.
No, I do the same thing. Especially if like the expiration date is good. Like I just did this with vitamins. Because I just take a daily vitamin and they were on sale, and I was like, I'm never going to get a better deal on this vitamin.
Or Spindrift.
Bottle.
It's been a while, but when Spindrift goes on sale, oh boy, I buy at least 2 boxes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Me too. So looking on the flip side of this, is there anything that we've spent money on that we thought was going to improve our quality of life that then in turn did not?
I have an answer, but we'll get to it when we get to some of the Patreon recommendations. So what do you 2 have?
Mine's my master's degree. It cost me time, money, came at the expense of my mental health, and I'm not using it, and I'm still paying for it. So do not recommend.
I feel you. I know that we've talked about this before a lot, so I won't dwell on it, but I just, in relation to that, wish I would have gone to community college for my general education requirements for sure. And that would have saved me so much money. Another one for me, this is kind of like silly, but I, when I was repainting my bathroom at home, I used this primer that was meant to like deter mold growth, because if mold is going to grow anywhere in your house, probably it's going to be in the bathroom. It just is like, it's just a great environment for mold to grow, especially if there's not good circulation, especially in the winter too, when like you want to keep all of the windows closed, right? And I thought that we were doing well on that front, except the other day I was cleaning the bathroom and I noticed that there was mold growing. So I will never buy that primer again, because it was all really just lip service.
Oh man,
and it
that
wasn't
really
like,
sucks.
Yeah, I know. I was like so proud of myself. I was like, I'm doing this as a deterrent. It's a good investment to go with like the primer first. The other thing too about like painting a bathroom is that usually you're going to paint it white anyway, or the same color. You kind of like want to cut some corners because painting can be a bit of a chore, right? So you don't really need a primer for that. But I thought that I would do things by the book, and it just like didn't end up working out. So
yeah,
I regret that $30 for sure.
Okay, so why don't we get to some of these patron responses? We got a lot of great feedback as always. Y'all rock.
We did. So the first one here comes from Molly, who says, not a huge investment, but a chom chom roller. If you have pets with hair that gets on furniture, this thing is amazing. Does not require a cartridge / replacing anything. So you purchase it once and you're done. And I'm definitely going to add this to my Amazon cart because Jasper sheds and he's in his shedding season right now. So,
and I see it's $30 before a $5 Amazon coupon.
Perfect.
So yeah, this will be $30 well spent, unlike that other $30 purchase.
Right.
Right. I need to get this too because Canella sheds and she's also in her shedding phase right now.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like a little blonde dog. So it just shows up everywhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't blend into anything.
Rex says, a good retinoid. Personally, I'm on Trentinonin. I can never pronounce that word, so I probably butchered it. And the compliments about my skin that I get by people makes me feel happy, and that is what matters.
Aww.
Skincare in general is a good investment. And
it is.
It doesn't have to be super expensive, but just finding a routine that works for you is a great investment for sure.
John said, I hired a cleaning person, $100 once a month to clean my 2-bedroom townhome. Every time it is worth every penny.
Yeah, I mean, $100 seems pretty reasonable, I think, once a month. I wonder how many hours that person is there. But yeah, I mean, having a larger house than I did previously, cleaning feels like a full-time job because there's always something else to clean. Ashley and Sarah, they both separately recommended a cordless Dyson vacuum cleaner. And this is the one I'm actually going to push back on. I understand the convenience because unplugging and plugging back in is a pain in the ass, but I also have a cordless Dyson vacuum. And the thing that gets me about it, now that I've actually bought it and have used it for a couple years, is it's another freaking battery you have to deal with. We have so many batteries in our daily lives these days. Laptop, phone, maybe you have a cordless mop or something. And it's just stressful having to deal with these batteries. Not to mention, vacuums are high power devices, right? And I usually keep my Dyson on the medium setting to make it through the whole house. If I keep it on the fastest, most powerful setting, the strongest suction, it's not going to last through the whole house. And then you got to wait like 6 hours to recharge it. I've already had to replace the battery once. I'm like, if I just had a plug-in freaking vacuum, like it's 1955, I wouldn't have to stress about this. But now I'm dealing with another battery.
Oh, no.
And I don't always have a high-powered vacuum, and that sucks. So I get the convenience, but I don't think the battery situation is worth it.
I have a Shark vacuum, and I'll find out the model number if you're interested. But the cord is really long, and not that the house is very big, but it's long enough that like I really only have to unplug it once to do the whole house. So I can do like the whole front of the house, including like the living room and the kitchen, because it has two settings. It has like a brush setting for carpet, and it has a hardwood floor setting for floors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's nice.
That is nice.
It's nice that they're making the cords longer too on some of these more like traditional cleaners.
Yeah. Kristen said, I finally stopped buying cheap earbuds and invested in the earbuds designed to work with my phone. Game changer. Yeah. Good. We've talked about this before. Good quality stuff.
Yeah.
Pays dividends. It really does, though, because otherwise you're replacing these things more often.
Taylor says Millennial and MuggleCast Patreon.
Yes.
That's very nice.
Thank you, Taylor.
Nice. Thank you. And I will say, I am cognizant of y'all supporting us, and we try to give you back money-saving tips, like encouraging people to switch to Visible or Mint, the phone carriers. They save you so much money. So we love passing on that type of information to help you save money, especially if you're supporting us financially. But we're just so grateful that we really try to pass on valuable tips.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, this one jumped out to me from Danielle. They recommended TSA PreCheck. They said it was the best $85 ever spent. I don't think I could ever go back, especially since I routinely go through a busy airport. They also said a good mattress. You spend so much of your life sleeping, get rid of your shitty mattress. Sarah also said mattress. And I will also add, invest in a big mattress if you're sleeping with a partner. Going to a king-size mattress was one of the best things I've ever done. I did it in 2 relationships, going from queen or full to king, because then you don't have to touch them. And it's so nice. It's so nice not being bothered by your partner.
Especially when the heat starts climbing up, I'm sure.
Yeah. And it's great if you have pets too, and if your pets sleep in the bed with you.
That's the biggest part, yeah.
Canella weighs 18 pounds, and yet somehow when she lays in bed, she expands in just the most surprising way. I'm like, how are you taking up this much space? So yeah, upgrading the mattress was a win.
Jasper is 12 pounds and he will take up half of the bed if I let him. So I feel you.
Yeah. How do they do it? I don't understand.
I don't know. He's a long boy. I don't know if like Canella ever does this, but Jasper will just like stretch out like Superman.
Yep.
And it's like, how are you that big? I didn't realize you were that long.
Well, that concludes our main topics for today. Just wanted to remind everybody about our Patreon, because we really couldn't do this show without you, and we're so grateful for your support. And it's so heartwarming to see listeners participate in these questions we throw up on Patreon and respond to the content we're posting there. And of course, we love hearing the feedback from people who are listening outside of Patreon as well. It's really nice to get that feedback from everybody, because when we're just sitting here talking, we have the Discord, which is another Patreon benefit, but it's so great to see that feedback throughout the week. But if you want to support us on Patreon, we have a few tiers ranging from $2 to $20 per month, and you get a range of different benefits, including the flagship benefit After Dark. We release a new After Dark installment every week. And Pam, what do we have coming up in today's discussion?
We're going to be talking about whether or not moving closer to your friends is a good idea. And this was inspired by a TikTok that I found that was highlighting quite a few articles that have been posted recently about this topic in particular.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get a little gossipy too.
Yeah,
Pam was
we have some personal stories.
I'm excited for this.
So check that out at patreon.com/millennial. And if you listen to us through Apple Podcasts, you can actually get After Dark through there. There's a subscribe button if you tap into the show. And whether you subscribe through Apple Podcasts or Patreon, we do have an annual subscription there as well. And if you do pledge for a year upfront, you will receive a little discount. And that's our way of thanking you for committing to a year. And now it's time for some more recommendations today. The sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild comes out this weekend, and Nintendo and Zelda fans are very, very, very excited about this game. This is a big deal. And, yes, another money-saving tip. So Nintendo has a game voucher right now. It's $99, and it'll get you access to 2 new Nintendo Switch games. One of the games available that you can use the voucher on is the new Legend of Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom. There's other games like the new Pikmin coming out later this year. Here's the thing. I said this voucher's $99 for 2 games. Zelda alone is $70. So you will basically be getting your second game, and it's a new game, for $30, which is going to be about half price. So you're going to save money if you're going to buy 2 games in the Switch voucher list. So highly recommend, if you're a Nintendo Switch gamer, picking up this Switch game voucher. They don't always have this available. It's been available for a couple months. It could go away, I think, at any time. So grab it now, especially if you're going to buy Tears of the Kingdom and you haven't pre-ordered it yet.
If you're interested in hearing more perspectives about inflation after listening to today's episode, I'd recommend watching the Inflation Blame Game episode of The Problem with Jon Stewart on Apple TV+. In general, The Problem with Jon Stewart is a really good show. I feel like it doesn't get enough hype. He goes so in depth on many different topics like inflation, and he's able to get really deep and really substantive, but it also has its light and humorous moments that you would expect from someone like Jon Stewart. He's also my hero, so I love everything he does.
And I have a stationery rec for anyone that likes stationery things. I wanted to recommend the Zebra Midliner pens. These are double-sided, and one side is a highlighter and the other side is a coordinating color of just like a fine tip pen. And I love these so much. I use them in my planner to color code. They also don't bleed through, which is really great if you like to highlight passages in the books you own as well. And you can get like different color packs. So if you like more bold highlighters, you can get bold color pack. They also have pastel color packs. So these are just really great if you just enjoy having a nice little arsenal of pens in your collection to annotate whatever your heart desires.
All right. Well, that concludes today's episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you to Finn for not crying once during today's program.
Oh, what a good boy.
The best
Finn.
I see him on the cam starting to get a little antsy, so good thing we're heading towards the end of the show here. Couple of reminders before we wrap up. Make sure you're following us for free in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. And leave us a review if you use Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We really appreciate that because it helps us get discovered by new listeners. If you have any feedback, and again, we do love hearing from you, you can write to millennialshow@gmail.com, or you can use the contact form or anonymous confessional on millennialshow.com. You can also follow us on social media. We're Millennial Show on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And then over on TikTok, we are Millennial Pod. Forgot to say this earlier. We will be posting photos of Finn, if you're curious, on the Millennial social media channels. Chloe was like, send me pictures. I'm posting them on social. She really wants that engagement that dog photos will bring. And I'm like, you know what? I respect that. So I think she's going to be posting before I post on my personal accounts. After Dark starts in a moment for those on Patreon and Apple Podcast subscribers. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.